if our own selves want to communicate with us, why doesn't it just be a bit more literal at times? Or like
It,
it feels like this is a game in a sense. And sometimes just for fun, I'm like, well, why?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, sometimes it is literal. Sometimes it is pretty clear. It is almost like a picture says more than 1,000 words. A three-dimensional reality says more than a picture. There's a lot of nuance packed into the experience of a dream, and the deeper self, its more primal nature is to communicate in metaphors, because metaphors seem more are more vague, but at the same time are far more precise. So
Hmm.
that is why it comes sometimes in that way. And your own psyche has a symbol formatting quality where you have a critical thought, but a critical thought will in the three-dimensional world be represented by maybe your ex partner or your or a boss or someone that you consider critical, and then it takes on the form and shape of that person. So that is just the way it manifests itself. And so that's one a bit about why it takes on this form. Another part is there's free will. And what I've really learned over the years doing this technique and this method is that it's not so much interested in either really telling you what to do. So it's as if you're created in a way that you have complete free will what you do, and this phenomenon is okay with any direction that you do. It's completely unconditional loving. Even if you decide to do really horrible things on in our level, it lets you, it loves you, and it lets you do these things. There are consequences, and so you have to work through the consequences, the karma of doing these things. But this phenomenon allows for free will, and so it's not going to say, "Hey, you must do this."
Yeah,
It's
you're
flowing.
summing up like maybe what's going on in the world, right? It's like we're allowed to choose, and the scales always rebalance. So
Yeah,
it's been many thousands, millions of years of this, and here we are. Like this is the great rebalancing. You know, it's like, hey, yeah, the water has to start flowing. It just does what it does. You know, you're allowed to choose, and you're lovingly given sorts of inputs and considerations and help. But it's this great art piece of choice.
yeah, 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 and um, and um, and it is on standby. I once had a dream in which I said, "Dreaming. What do you want people to know about this method of dream incubation? Asking you questions for help."
It's very meta. Yeah.
And the dream I had was, I was at a company, and there was a CEO. It was a female CEO who was unbelievably wise and deeply compassionate. And this female CEO would let you figure it out on your own, and even if it would take 2 or 3 years, and would be totally fine with that, or would be delighted to educate and help you on your journey, and would be equally delighted. And I thought, that makes sense for this notion of somewhat in the same vein as we just talked about. There's total free will. It's deeply compassionate, and it allows for choice. And yet, if you want, you can tap into this wisdom for support that has to do with your life path. It's not going to create it's not going to give you all the answers. So, I've seen people that are like, which school should I go? And then, I didn't get a good dream. And I was like, did you do any research before you asked this question? No. Yeah. Well, it's also this female CEO is also a phenomenal coach. So it lets you figure it out as far as you can, and when you're then really stuck, then it is there to support. But it's not like,
Participatory. Like it
Yeah.
requires your engagement as opposed to being passive.
Beautiful set, right.
Yeah. What into like this world, do you think that people can sort of do this sort of work with dreams on their own? Of course they can, but do you think it's more effective if they almost have like a dream coach or they have someone that can help them work and interpret their dreams?
Yes, if there's a good coach, it's helpful. But I've seen that if people apply, like how I try to write a book, is that anyone with no never dreamt or enjoys working with their dreams can apply this technique themselves. And these first and yes, if you have someone that you can in the morning share your dreams with, whether it's even your partner, your family, a friend, they might have a different angle, give you feedback. Uh, Famously, Carl Jung, the great Western dream doctor, shared his dreams with his gardener, who wasn't really known to be a great psychologist, but he felt this gardener always had some angle or said something, so he was just bouncing it off.
Yeah,
So
love that.
yeah, that helps.
Yeah. Um, Speaking of this is a crazy idea, but like the collective dream
Hmm.
and the way like the world, this all of humanity is unconscious. What if there was a technological approach to this where there's some app using AI tech where you maybe just speak your dreams, make it real easy. It logs it all in. It's getting millions of people's dreams and it tries to interpret them to say, hey, we're finding a commonality. Almost like if it can see like there's a collective message from humanity or, the great dream or even prophecy. It's
Yeah.
a wild idea, but I think, it was
Well,
one way of like turning technology on its head,
yeah, yeah. No, what you would potentially get out of it is this larger story that is unfolding.
Yeah.
And actually, that what Joseph Campbell said: dreams are personal myths, and myths are collective dreams. So our mythology is this larger storyline, and there are currently several mythologies unfolding, who are the threads of the large soul creating something. And
Threads? You said threads, right? Or
yeah,
threats?
with a D, threads.
Threads. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.